Whoa!
Welcome back to Auto Technic, and today we're going to be finding out why the brakes failed on my 1972 barnfind Chevelle.
Alright, when we got this car, it had no brakes. Clearly sitting that long, the pedal went straight to the floor, and I had no engagement on the brakes. If you saw in one of our earlier videos, I went through and walked Trevor through the process of bleeding the brakes. That way we could get the air out of the lines, and we did actually have moderate brakes. They weren't great, but they were pretty decent, and that allowed us to make it through 2 test drives. So we had our first very short test drive that we abandoned a block in, and then we had our second actual test drive on the car where we took it around. Well, when we were bringing the car back in and parking it, Trevor, go ahead and smash the pedal now and tell me what you feel.
It's very easy to push down.
It's easy to push down. It goes all the way to the floor again. And what actually happened is when I was parking the car, I actually felt the master cylinder give out. So I know exactly what happened. First thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and pop the master cylinder out of the car. I'm doing that to show Trevor exactly what failed on it, but also to see if we can repair it versus replacing it. And I need to know what size the master cylinder bore is. So we're going to go ahead and get that yarded out and get it onto the workbench. All right, Trevor, I was going to have you unhook the rod from the master cylinder to the pedal, but there is not enough space for both of us to get down there and actually see what's going on. And I won't be able to walk you through what needs to happen. So I got another camera down there so we can capture what's happening, and I'll be able to show you after the fact.
Okay.
So there is just a little pin that goes through the master cylinder rod through the brake pedal and a clip. I need to go ahead and press the ear of the clip off, snap the clip, and push the pin out, all right? So hopefully this won't be too bad, but the bad part is the pedal's right here and the steering column's right next to it, and that's why there's no space for you to see what's going on. So I'll just crawl up under here and hopefully get this clip. Hopefully this clip is not rusted on. So I got the clip free, but it doesn't want to pop off the pin. There we go. See right there, Trevor?
Mm-hmm.
That's the clip you have to snap off. And then now that pin should just slide out, but your car's seen better days, so. All right, leverage is our friend. I don't think I'll fit that thing up under the dash. Ah. Oh. Oof-da. Whew. Work that lube in there. Let's see if I can't make something happen. All right. This is escalating.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
It's probably not ideal. We're gonna have to go get some fire and some heat. I wish they could see the look on your face right now. You look concerned. You should flip the camera around and let them see the look of concern on your face. That was not the look you had. Not the look. We'll start small. That's okay. So this is going to heat up and expand the metal, and also it should just go ahead and help free some of that rust up, and hopefully we can go ahead and get this pin popped out.
Yeah.
But we got to be careful that we don't set, you know, flammable things on fire up under here.
Yeah.
That's why I grabbed my little torch, not my real big one. Real big one would heat this up a lot quicker, but this torch is small, easy to get under the dash, and I can control the heat and the flame so we don't create a bunch more problems for ourselves. All right, I think there's a nylon pin in that brake pedal that we're probably going to end up ruining here. Woo! Well,
did you get it?
oh. More tools. I'm gonna drag the whole toolbox out here eventually. Success. So look at that. You see how corroded up, rusted, marred up. That's probably is that?
It's trying to focus on you. There it is.
You see how bad that is?
Mm-hmm.
That's why that was hard to get out. So we'll clean all this up for you, Trevor. So that way when it goes back in, it'll be real easy. And this clip that we popped off, it actually slides on like this. And then it pushes over and locks in. So you have to lift this tab up to slide it off. Mm-hmm. So I'll show you how this works before you have to put it back together, okay?
Okay.
But the good news is that's all we have to do up under the dash.
Okay.
Now we need to go under the hood. In order to take the master cylinder out, we need to disconnect the 2 brake lines.
Okay.
And then there's 2 bolts here for the firewall we need to disconnect. Before we do that, we're going to do 2 things to help us out. We're going to suck all the fluid out of it so it makes less of a mess. Mm-hmm. And we're going to go ahead and put some penetrating lube on our brake lines.
Okay.
And the bolts on the firewall.
Mm.
Okay?
Okay.
And we'll let those soak. And then pop this lid off like so. And set that aside. You're going to want this.
Okay.
This hose sucks. This turns it on.
Okay.
I got to hook air up so you can hold it like so and squeeze it. Mm-hmm. And you're going to suck the fluid out of both of those reservoirs.
Do I just put them inside of it? Like this?
Yep. Hold on. So this hooks up right here.
Okay.
Now if you squeeze it, there you go, and it sucks.
Did I get all of it?
There's still a little in there. You want it as much as you can so it doesn't minimizes our mess. So if we want to suck all that out, Trevor, all that brake fluid would have leaked out down your car, your frame, your inner fender. And brake fluid is corrosive to paint. Oh. So if it sits on paint for a long time, it'll actually discolor it and bubble it. So A, it makes a big mess. It damages paint, so it's easier just to suck it out. Mm-hmm. Now, you got to disconnect your brake lines, and that's where it would have leaked out of. Okay. See, this is a normal open-end wrench because you have a line and you can't put a socket on. Mm-hmm. But you don't want to use this because these get really tight and almost seized on there. Mm-hmm. And this wrench will have a tendency to round that fitting out, and you can't replace that fitting without cutting the line and putting a new fitting on. You don't want to round it out. So they make special wrenches for this.
Oh.
I present to you the brake line wrench. Do you see the difference?
It's like at the end it kind of goes in more.
Yeah, so it wraps around the nut more. Mm-hmm. So you're going to put that on there, and then you're going to use it and pull towards the front of the car to break that loose. Got him. Nicely done. So, see that bolt right there underneath your lines?
Yeah.
Right there. Okay, break it loose. Get higher up on that ratchet. Leverage. It's all about leverage. Support. Hold on, let me fix this. Oop. All right. Okay. Push. Both hands. All right. Now, grab that master cylinder, and you're gonna have to wiggle it and see if you can pull it out from the firewall. Yep, there you go. Nice. Nice job. Be careful because more fluid might leak out on this end. So, look how much sludge is in there. Mm-hmm. That should be perfectly clean and clear.
Oh.
So that's we'll let that drain out for a little bit, and then we'll take that to the bench, and we're going to take that bad boy apart. Got the master cylinder out of the car.
Mm-hmm.
When we bled your brakes, I give you a quick crash course on how these work. Do you remember enough? You think you can try to explain this to me how it works?
It like, I remember the shoe and drum.
The shoe and okay, so this part here is what I was fighting that pin with underneath the dash.
Yeah.
That attaches to the pedal.
Okay.
When you push the brake pedal, it pushes this whole rod forward inside this master cylinder. There's a piston in here that traps the fluid, and it squeezes the fluid, and it comes out these two lines, which then go to your wheel cylinders in each wheel that push out on your shoes onto your brake drums, okay? Now, since your pedal is soft and goes to the floor and doesn't return,
Failing.
it's not building pressure in here. So we're going to pop this apart and confirm what we already suspect.
Don't most people just replace these?
They do. They aren't that expensive. However, you can also rebuild these.
Oh.
So if yours can be rebuilt, I'm thinking we'll just go ahead and rebuild it. And if yours needs to be replaced, we'll replace it. Now, right there, Trevor, there should not be fluid there.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's pretty obvious.
That is a dust boot. The fact that fluid came out the back like that, we know this is bad. I already knew it was bad just by what it was doing in the car, but that's complete confirmation that it's bad. So, there's a snap ring in here.
You want to test that one?
Now we're going to take the snap ring out.
Oh.
This might prove to be...
Infixable?
No, everything's fixable. If it can be built, it can be rebuilt. It's just no matter if the juice is worth the squeeze.
Huh?
See, I can't get anything back behind that snap ring. See, the fluid came out the front when I pushed that in.
Yeah.
So can you hold pressure on that? Whoa! That's what it's supposed to do, except it's supposed to do that and create pressure for your brakes. Here, let's use our bench to our advantage. Okay?
Oh.
And let me find something easier for you to push with. You made a mess.
You told me to do it.
Now do you understand how it works a little bit better?
I think so.
All right. So you can go and hold this in.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm pushing slow so it doesn't make a huge mess. See how black and bad that fluid is? All right.
Yeah.
Can you keep pressure on that?
Yeah.
Keep pushing. Keep pushing. I need you to push. That snap ring seized in there. Wow. All right. I'm gonna let go for a sec. Look at all that crap and rust that's in there.
Oh, wow.
Because of that rust and the corrosion, that snap ring's kind of rusted in there. I need to find a way to break it free.
Fire.
Slow down. I'm gonna take it to the bench vise and see if I can tap it free with a hammer.
Aw.
You're out of control. All right.
Well, too bad. Looks like it's not working. Gotta go to the next option.
Nope.
Aw.
It worked.
Aw.
I was able to get that snap ring to move. You need to push on there again. Push, both hands. You gotta push that in. Push in more. It hasn't even moved. This piston needs to move in.
How do I get it to move in?
Put some effort into it. There you go. There you go. Whoa! There we go. See? Now you can let go. Now we got that snap ring out.
The fire option would have been easier. Oh, the sound. Sounds like you eating a tuna sandwich.
So it's starting to come out. There's so much corrosion on the back of it It's not sliding out all the way. There we go.
Oh,
There we go.
oh.
That brake fluid should be clear. So brake fluid is hygroscopic. It attracts moisture. Moisture gets in here and causes corrosion and rust. And then that's what causes this to get brown.
I don't think there's going to be much coming left out of that.
There is. There's another piston in the front.
Oh.
Ooh. There you go. That's all that's in there.
Oh, great.
So it sits just like this.
Oh.
And do you see all this
Corrosion? Yeah.
dirt and grime? That's getting in there and it damages these seals. Right here. And that's why it doesn't create pressure.
Oh.
So we can order new pistons and seals. And we'll have to get a flashlight into that bore. The big question is, yeah, you see, looking down that, you see the rust in there? So we'll take this master cylinder, we'll get this cleaned up. I do have a hone that we can use to hone that out on the inside, and it should get that rust off. We'll order a new rebuild kit with new pistons and seals, and we'll see if we can't get a little bit of life back in your original master cylinder.
Okay.
Right, so now we just got to get these measured up and confirm the size so we know what parts to order. We're in the middle of the master cylinder rebuild, but we were out messing around in the car the other day and I realized we have yet another problem with the brakes.
Yeah.
Let's show them what we have, Trevor. We have our brake pedal, and mind you, our master cylinder is out of the car. And you can see that, it's not moving freely. It takes quite a bit of effort to move back and forth. There's a bushing up there that pivots on the brake pedal that you can replace.
Really?
There is, yep. And there's probably some corrosion on the bolt. So we need to pop this brake pedal out, replace those bushings, clean everything up. Otherwise your brakes will never be the way they need to be.
Alright.
So let's go ahead and get this whipped out real quick, and we'll be able to get a better idea of how bad that bushing is.
Alright.
All right, Trevor, master cylinder is out of the carb cleaner and it came out pretty good. Got it rinsed off.
Yep.
It's got some surface rust on it. One thing I wanted to show you, which we couldn't tell before, is you see all this corrosion right here
Yeah.
on that aluminum, and there's some right up there actually also. And there's a bunch right there underneath that seal.
Yeah.
So that is from sitting with the brake fluid kind of...
Just like on it?
Well, it's when the moisture gets into the brake fluid and it kind of breaks down the brake fluid, it gets acidic, and then it starts to eat away that aluminum. So that's part of the rebuild we're going to address. And also these seals right here, although these ones don't look in too bad a shape, if you grab that little flashlight, and can you shoot down there? Do you see all the rust and corrosion on those walls?
Yeah.
Let me see if I can get the camera in there. There we go. So that is supposed to be a perfectly smooth, finished, honed surface. Perfectly flat and uniform for these seals to seal up on it.
Oh.
That's why our brakes were inconsistent and intermittent, because those seals couldn't seal inside this bore. So before we really get any further on this project, this is a hone for wheel cylinders, but it will fit in our master cylinder.
And you like clean it? Is it like sandpaper?
It is. It's an abrasive stone.
Okay.
And it's going to slowly, we're going to go ahead and...
Put that in there and then put it in there and slowly pull it out.
Yeah, we'll spin the drill, go in and out. I'll show you to start with, and then you'll do it. And then before we go any further on this master cylinder, we're going to see if we can get that honed out nice and clean. If we can't, there's no point in even going any further with it. But I think we can get it cleaned out nice, clean, so that way our new seals and pistons will work inside this master, okay?
Okay.
So here, you grab this. Now we're going to use some WD-40 to help lubricate it.
Alright.
And this is pretty easy because you just take this, see, you can adjust the spring and it adjusts how far out they go, which will change our pressure on it. So we're just going to go and put a little bit of pressure in there. It needs more than that. I just do this back and forth. So this is pretty much the same thing as what you do when you hone an engine block out.
Ah.
So we're going to do that, and now we need to grab a towel and see if it cleaned it up. And then it's just going to be wash, rinse, repeat, and we want to be sure that we take the bare minimum out to get this cleaned up. We don't want to take a bunch of material out.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see what this looks like. Let's see. Well, that already looks a lot better, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So we'll have you. Ooh, there's a lot of pitting on those walls.
Mm.
Well, we'll just hone it and see what happens and throw it back together. We'll see. Let's get it honed. We'll put it back on the car and see if it works or not. Alright guys, we finished toning out the master cylinder. It came out pretty okay. There is some pitting that I'm a little concerned about. We got it masked up right now, so once it's unmasked and we're putting it back together, I'll show you guys that. I had Trevor wire wheel it down to get all the surface rust cleaned off of it. We went ahead and had to mask it, and we're going to go ahead and just give it a new layer of paint so it doesn't get, you know, more rusty and look terrible. So it looks nice and neat and clean for Trevor. But before we jump to painting it, we need to address your pedal because we'll paint that also. Now, you remember how in the car the pedal wouldn't move?
Mm-hmm.
This pin is the upper pivot pin, and you see all the like dried up grease and worn bushing and rust and corrosion on this pin? Mm-hmm. And these bushings are shot. Try to put that pin into those bushings. Can you even get it in?
Mm-hmm.
Not all the way.
Mm-hmm.
That's the other problem why your pedal wouldn't move, because you shouldn't have to beat that pin in. It should spin pretty freely. So we'll take this to the bench grinder at the wire wheel. We'll get this cleaned up. I ordered new bushings so we can put new bushings in. So we'll take these, get that one out. These old crimey bushings out. And then when we have the bushings out, we'll clean up this pedal, Trevor.
Okay.
We'll get this cleaned up. We'll give it a new coat of paint. We'll take this old brake pedal pad off. I'll see if I can source a new one for you. And we'll get this cleaned up and nice and pretty before we put it back into the car, okay?
Okay.
So let's do a little bit more cleaning, and then we'll get the painting. Okay. Paint looks pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
We even went in and had the wire wheel out some rust in here, but you can actually see right there's a small pinhole on either side, and we found that both of those were completely plugged, so we were able to free those back up. Got all the rust and chunks out of the inside. And Trevor, if you'll hold that, we'll try to show them what we have on the inside. Can you get the camera in there? There we go. So it cleaned up quite nicely, a bit more pitting in there than I really was hoping for, and that has me a little concerned with how well those seals are going to seal up when we're all said and done. Brakes are definitely a safety item, so if they're not perfect, I'm not really good with leaving it in there. But eventually on this car, we are going to go to a power brake setup, so we will be replacing this master cylinder. So if we're going to have to evaluate and see how it works, Trevor. So I'm I'm hoping we don't have any issues, but if we get the brakes on and bled and they're not safe, or the brake has a little bit of bleed by where I can slowly push the brake pedal down, we're going to not run the car with it and put a new master in it. But we'll put it together and see what we got, okay?
Okay.
Now, let me grab this camera and show you. On our rebuild kit, Trevor, this is the one that came in the rebuild kit. This came out of the car. So everything that's first in line was, this is brand new, and brand new.
Okay.
It's a bit of a different kit. So this rear cylinder is actually identical on height and dimensions. And this is the one that had all the corrosion on the aluminum. So we're not going to run that, and we're going to run the new one, okay? However, look at these. You see that they're totally different heights, but also if you look real carefully, the piston seals are at different locations. So I didn't want to run this new one because I wanted everything back in the original location with the piston seals relative to the ports in the master cylinder. But I was able to rob all of the seals off this and transfer them to the old piston. And this piston does not have any corrosion or any issues. So with all 3 new seals, it's effectively brand new. To the springs, this was the new one. It's a little bit longer than the old one. We don't need to worry about that. There's really no wear and tear on these. So essentially we're going to use some of your old parts, but all the seals are brand new. So we're going to go ahead and get all those reinstalled back into the master cylinder. And we got to put it in the car and evaluate what we have, okay?
Okay.
So let's get started on getting this reassembled. These, we have to stuff on the inside of that, and they go basically like so. Okay, hold on. We need to go ahead and get these seals lubricated. So, do you want to get your finger in this brake fluid, or no? Huh?
No, thank you.
No? So it doesn't, we don't need to soak it all, but just a little bit. Like so. Some brake fluid in there as far as I can get it. Alright.
Okay.
It's going to take a little work to get this seal in. I'll see if I can get this first one in past it. You got to kind of like wiggle it and walk it. There we go. Alright. Push that in. Oh, okay, hold on. Make sure we didn't roll a seal. We're good. Alright. Next one. There you go. There you go. Now, hold on a sec. You can pull it back and you can kind of feel how the seal rolls back. That's how it should be. Okay. That one's going to be tricky because you're fighting a spring. Remember how we did it last time? Go ahead and push it in. Push. Can you get it?
I don't think so.
Oh, wow. Yeah. There we go. Okay, can you hold that in? Okay. Got it? Good job. Awesome. And this just slides in. There. That should slide in easier now. Just put some lube on it. There you go. All the way in? Is it all the way in? That's
think
it?
so.
Yeah, that's it. It just sits in there like so. This is the part that attaches to the brake pedal in the car. Right there. And then when you push the brake pedal, it pushes all that in like so.
Oh.
That's all it does.
Oh.
So before we put the master in, we need to put the brake pedal back in. We got our new bushings. We got the pin cleaned up and lightly lubed. You notice the difference?
Yeah, it's not nearly as stiff.
Yeah, and do you remember last time you couldn't even get the pin in?
Mm-hmm.
And it slides in, so that's going to make a big difference. So since this is so far up under the dash, I'm not going to make you do it. I'm going to crawl up on there, get this clipped in, but you're installing the master cylinder, okay?
Okay.
So I'm going to see if I can get myself wedged up underneath here. And get her stuff back in. All right, there we go, man.
All right, good.
It's on and moves nice and free.
Yeah.
So now we just need to go ahead and get that master cylinder installed, okay?
Okay.
Get this fed through. I'll go in the car and get that onto the brake pedal. Slide it on. I got your wrench and your nuts to get it bolted back on, okay?
Okay. I think I got them. What about these guys?
Yeah, we'll leave those off so we can do the bench bleed, those brake lines.
Oh, okay.
You asked about the lines and we didn't hook them up yet.
Mm-hmm.
I told you that's because we're going to bench bleed it. Now, usually you can do this on a workbench. That's why they call it bench bleed. But you can see that I put those adapters on the master cylinder, and then I ran hoses back into the reservoir and filled it with fluid. So since we had this all apart, there's going to be air in the master cylinder. Just like bleeding the brakes, we can't have air into it. So I'm going to carefully push the brake pedal, and that's going to push all those pistons, and that will push all the air out into the reservoir, and we're just going to keep going slowly, and that's going to get all the air out and get fluid into the reservoir. Then we'll hook the lines up, okay?
Okay.
I need you to make sure that these lines don't pop out.
Yeah.
So watch slowly and you'll see bubbles. Ready?
Yeah.
See anything?
Yeah, I see bubbles.
And your pedal came back all by itself.
Good.
Do you want to hop in and push?
Sure.
You can see what the pedal should feel like when you're bleeding brakes.
Yeah. Do I push?
Yeah.
Wow.
Big difference, huh?
Yeah.
Keep going. I think we got it. The pedal felt quite a bit different, didn't it?
Yeah, it felt a lot better.
So we got done with the bench bleed. I whipped the lines on real quick. He wanted to go in and grab a snack, so I had to tighten them up. When we were doing the bench bleed, you noticed that the front reservoir was going down more than the rear, huh?
Mm-hmm.
And so I topped it off, and then once the system was tight, I was pumping the brake pedal to see how it felt. It felt pretty good, and then Trevor told me that the front cylinder was low again.
Mm-hmm.
So you can see we got no fluid in on the back. And everything should be tight, and we haven't even gotten to bleed the brakes yet. So I crawled underneath the car, and Trevor, why don't you come down under here with me? And do you see that? That pile of brake fluid on the ground running down your wheel?
Yeah.
All the way up, and I can see your bleeder nipple right there is clean and dry.
Oh.
So we either ruptured a line, or most likely it's a wheel cylinder. Yeah. So that means no point in bleeding the brakes today because we have more brake work ahead of us.
Yeah.
All right, Trevor. That right there is a sign of leaking wheel cylinder or busted brake line on the wheel.
I don't think you can see it.
You can't see it?
Yeah, the sun.
There you go. How's that?
That's good.
That's not good. So we got this off. Take your drum off. That's your wheel cylinder right there. But there's really no fluid inside the drum leaking out. That looks okay. All right, Trevor.
Whoa.
Yeah, move that brake line, that rubber hose, and look right on the joint where it goes down. Now pull it the other way. Yeah, you see that right at the bottom?
Oh, yeah.
We ruptured our brake hose.
Okay.
Which is good that it actually happened here and not when we're driving the car. There's 3 brake hoses on the car. There's one on each side on the front, a rubber hose, and one at the rear. That's it. So we need to go ahead and order new brake hoses. Replace all the brake hoses, and then we'll bleed the brakes. I thought it was your wheel cylinder, but that's not necessarily the case. And actually, now that we're in here, your shoes have quite a bit of life left on them. So that's actually a good thing. So just get some brake hoses, and hopefully then we'll be able to test out the master.
Yeah.
All right. This feels like the 3rd, maybe 4th time we tried to get the brakes done on your car.
Yeah.
We keep encountering issues. New brake lines.
Yep.
So we're going to start up here on the right front. I'm going to start by showing you how the brake lines come apart, but then you're going to finish this one, you're going to do the other side, then we'll move to the rear because it's just a hair different, okay?
Okay.
So come on down here with me. So I'm going to take that clip off. I'm going to put some lube on that top fitting, then I'm going to unscrew that fitting, and that's going to allow this line to fall out of the bracket, okay?
Okay.
It's a little tricky, so I'll do this one up here. It's the same down on the bottom. And you see this right here?
Yeah.
That is a clip
Mm-hmm.
that if it's not, ooh, there we go. Watch out. We're going to use a line wrench. Remember these?
Yeah.
To get that loose. Now there is an adapter for, or not adapter, but a nut to put a wrench on here. But since we're not going to reuse them, we'll use vice grips because it's a lot easier. But the reason why we don't use these on the new ones is because it damages them. But since these are ruined, we don't care. Because I hope that I can pull, there we go, and loosen that upper fitting. Now that it's loose, we'll just switch to our other wrench.
Okay.
All right. And it's pretty much the same. These fittings are the same as that were on the brake master cylinder. You see that this fitting is now loose?
Yeah.
So I can pick that up and out. And there's your line.
Yep.
So it's exactly the same on this other side, except it's all upside down. So you see the clip?
Yeah.
It's on the bottom this time. And you see your nut right there, down there on the bottom? So, let me grab some compressed air and see if I can clean that up for you. But you're going to have to do what I did to get that off.
Okay.
Getting it? Ooh, nice. That's good. Is the bottom tight? Awesome. All right, we need to throw the front wheels on so that way we can get the front of the car back on the ground and then jack the back up and do the rear brake line. All right, Trevor, can you see up here on top of the rear end where I'm pointing?
No.
Why don't you position yourself so you can see? You might have to go forward more. You see right there? Here's our brake hose.
Okay, now I can't see.
All right, here's our brake hose. And then we have these two hard lines that come in either side that are the same as the front. And then that block is bolted on with a nut. And then this brake hose runs up here. And it runs through the frame right there. And it has a clip that's the same as the fronts were. And a nut just like the front up there, okay?
Okay.
So we need to go ahead and probably start with getting that nut cracked loose, spun out. Then I would take the clip off. And then on the back, crack the nuts on that junction block loose on the hard brake lines. Take these loose first, then loosen that nut, and then we'll spin those off. You got it done. You got the new line up on top, and we even got it back up into the frame, so we're all sealed up. Did you have a blast?
No.
No? It was dirty, and you had brake fluid dripping on you?
Yeah.
Yep, it wasn't really your favorite, was it?
Yeah, no, it wasn't.
But we got to do these crummy jobs to do the fun stuff, and after we do this, Now comes the fun stuff. But you'd made the decision to call it for a night, and we'll come back out later and do a brake flush.
Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You're the one that made the choice.
I know.
All right, so we're going to do that. So we're going to call it for tonight. We're going to get cleaned up, and then we're going to come back out here on another day, do a brake flush, and then we're going to see how the brakes work. Hopefully, maybe, I hope, take it for a test drive.
Yep.
Maybe take it to the gas station, fill that brand new gas tank up with some fuel. All right, let's get cleaned up, and we'll be back out here in a little bit.
Yep.
So the brakes are now bled. We've gone through and replaced all the bushings on the brake pedal. We even gave it a nice little paint job and got a new pedal pad on it. So your brake pedal and everything's pretty much restored. Your master cylinder is restored. Trevor, do you remember how the brake pedal felt the first time you got it on the car?
Yep, you push down or go down a little more, and then you have to pull it right back up.
You would have to pull it back up. And you remember when we had the brake pedal just loose with the master cylinder off, it wouldn't even swing by itself. Now, if you go ahead and hit the pedal, you can see that it had, yep, and then it comes back up, right? With a little free play, moves nice. Now,
and it does not go all the way.
It doesn't go all the way down. It's bled. Now, if you put your foot on that brake pedal as hard as you can and hold it, it stays there, huh? So if we had any leakage on those seals inside the master cylinder, it would slowly creep to the floor. But the fact that it just stays there rock solid means there's no brake fluid leaking past those seals on the inside of the master cylinder, which means our master cylinder and with the corrosion on the inside, it's set. We don't have to worry about it at all, and we're good to drive around. So let's go ahead and get her fired up and hit the road.
Yep.
Well, guys, we have a bit of a confession. You couldn't tell, it's more towards spring, summertime, and it's been a while. It seems like this brake repair was like the never-ending project on Trevor's car.
Yeah.
I think we started it around December. You know, we went through, rebuilt the master cylinder, but while we were also doing that, we were doing a lot of the other work on the car. We replaced the fuel tank, we replaced the carburetor, and just yesterday we finished doing the tune-up on the car. So really, we weren't able to take the car out and give it a drive after getting the brakes on and bled, because we really, frankly, we had like 5 other projects going on at a time, and the car wasn't drivable. So we got it all back together. It's running just fantastic after our tune-up. Definitely check out that video. It's going to be coming up to the channel here shortly. But the brakes, I am happy to say that they are excellent.
Now, he was a little concerned on the pitting on the master cylinder.
Yes, I was concerned with the pitting and the condition of the seals and how well they would seal up with that pitting in the master cylinder. And I'm happy to tell you that the brake pedal's dead solid. If I go ahead and lean on the brake pedal, I don't bleed pressure down. The pedal does not slowly sink down. I have very good, strong brakes, and frankly, they're pretty good for drum brakes, and we haven't even gone through and adjusted them at the shoes. So it's pretty solid. One thing I will mention here, I purposely and intentionally went through and rebuilt that master cylinder, Trevor. I know how cheap master cylinders are just to buy a new one and put it in, but I wanted Trevor to see the insides. I wanted him to see how simple a master cylinder was. That's why we rebuilt this one. Otherwise, I just would have put a brand new master cylinder in it. If this was a customer's car, I would have put a brand new master cylinder in it. Or if they wanted me to rebuild it and I saw that pitting, I absolutely would have recommended a new master cylinder. But since this is our car, I'm going to be the only one driving with this master cylinder. I was willing to take that risk because I wanted to teach Trevor how it worked, the basics and fundamentals. And before you got into this, Trevor, did you think that a brake master cylinder was that simple?
No.
Are you surprised at how little parts there are inside of it? How about your brake system overall? We put your brake lines on, we've bled it. There's really not a lot there to a brake system, is there?
Yeah.
So that was my whole intention. I wanted him to understand that there's just not a lot there. It's a basic system, a little bit of time and effort, and we can overhaul it. And I think we spent $20-$30 on hoses, and probably $30 on the master cylinder rebuild, so $60. And your brakes are back to where they need to be, and something that we can, drive the car around with this summer and not have to worry about it.
And with that, I hope you guys enjoyed the video today, and we'll see you in the next one.
Thanks for watching, guys. We appreciate it.